We have a short technical delay. We're getting our system online, and then we will begin our meeting. Good. I will call this meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council to order, and we will ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Here.
Councilmember Budge? Here. Councilmember Terry?
Here.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Here.
Mayor Sander?
Here. Would you please read the meeting's video recording and playback schedule, please?
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air Thursday, February 6th at 9 a.m. and Friday, February 7th at 6 p.m. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch. A copy can also be ordered from the city clerk's department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Very good. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by an invocation. The invocation will be given by Dr. Dan DeShong from River City Christian. But first, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Maria Neisted of our staff to lead us in that pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our many blessings. We ask for your Holy Spirit to join us tonight for the business of our community. We pray for wisdom for our council members. We ask that you help each one to have discernment and clear direction. I personally pray, Lord, that our community leaders would keep your commandments in their hearts and lead our community through the lens of Scripture. With this said, may it be your will, Lord, that we have many years of peace and prosperity. We ask this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Maria and Dan. We are going to go on to presentations. And first up, item 9.1 on presentations is Stacy Delaney.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Daniel Leonardich for the Community Enhancement Fund Management Technician for the city. We're here to present the last group of ceremonial checks of the season to several organizations that have received grant funding this past fiscal year. I encourage everyone to ask everyone, mayor and council members, to come and join us down in front of the dais. So the first check this evening is for Folsom Cordova Unified School District for their second year of hosting the Touch of Understanding program. So the Touch of Understanding's Disability Awareness is a powerful 3-hour character building workshop that guides and enables students to understand and relate to people with disabilities. This results in a reduction of incidences of isolation and bullying for disabled individuals. Megan Adamski, Executive Director of A Touch of Understanding, and Principal Lori Powell of the Riverview STEM Academy are accepting the check for $10,800. So the next check is for Sacramento Valley Spark and their summer art celebration. So on July 25th, Sacramento Valley Spark will hold a summer art festival that will feature the art of Burning Man. Temporary placement of art, active art from local artists, performances, and opportunities for people in attendance to participate will bring something unique and special to Rancho Cordova. Spark will also undertake a study to determine the feasibility of establishing an art park in Rancho Cordova. Ed Fletcher, president of Sacramento Valley Spark, and consultant Kathy Zwern are accepting the check for $16,000. And the last check this evening will be presented to the Cordova Community Council Foundation for the youth sports facilities improvements. So in collaboration with Rancho Cordova Athletic Association, Folsom Cordova Unified School District, and the Cordova Recreation and Park District, the Cordova Community Council can address immediate needs for repairs and improvements to youth sports facilities, such as fixing gopher holes and irrigation improvements. Shelley Blanchard, Executive Director, is accepting the check for $80,000. All right, one more check. The last check is for Sacramento Telangana Association for their Festival of Colors and Kite Festival. So Sacramento Telangana Association continues to provide multicultural events to Rancho Cordova residents free of charge. Festival of Colors, or Holi, being held on March 14th, marks the arrival of spring and its celebration of fertility, color, and love. The Kite Festival, a first for Rancho Cordova, will be a fun, family-friendly event. Co-founder Anil Kondakrindi and another gentleman here are accepting the check for $5,000. And that concludes this fiscal year's check presentations. Thank you.
Okay, that was item 9.1. Always a lot of fun, see all the great stuff going on in our community. We are moving on to item 9.2, and I think we are postponing this, Cyrus, until a future date? Employee introductions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Just due to availability or something?
that's correct.
All right, and then we are moving on to item number 10, public comment. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card, they're available in the back, to our city clerk, who's sitting right up here. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called up to the podium at the point on the agenda when that item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less and to state the name and their name and community of residence. Under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item on the agenda, not on the agenda, unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Do we have any public comment cards turned in?
No.
We do not. All right, we are moving on to council reports, and first up is Mr. McGarvey.
Come on there, North Hill, okay. Today I had a tour of the Mather Veterans Village Phase 2. That's a two-story building. They have made a lot of progress on that. It looks like a new building rather than the one that they had to redo. I know when we first started, it was in horrible shape. There was water standing in the basement down there, and they have a basement. But right now they have the doors, windows, carpet. They have everything just about ready to go on the first floor. The second floor is ready for a like rooms for 2 veterans in each one of those rooms. It's a transitional, and it's going to be something that'll be done. Hopefully, they'll have it all finished and the ribbon cutting in March or April. The second thing is the String of Lights on February the 2nd, the Performing Arts Theater and the band together on February the 12th. It's going to be musicians from the Mitchell Middle School, Mills Middle School, and Cordova High. On the 12th, they're going to be asking for $3 for adults and $1 for students. And the Folsom Lake College campus in Rancho Cordova is a great success, so successful, they're planning on a second building. The building is one of the 21 plans which are in the governor's budget. We will have to follow the budget as it goes through the next few months, of course. Either way, the expansion is necessary for the future success of our campus. They have so many people going through that they have during the day and in the evening, they have classes also. So it's going to be great to have that done. And that's right next door to the 10 acres we have that's planning on the Civic Center. And that's what I've got right now, tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGarvey. Thank you, Mr. McGarvey. Ms. Budge.
Okie dokie. I thoroughly enjoyed the annual trek over to Navigator School to hand out, with the Rotary Club, to hand out dictionaries to the 3rd grade. They've been doing this for years and years and years, and it seems like almost anywhere I go with a group of children or a group of young adults, I run into somebody who says, you came to the 3rd grade and gave me a dictionary. It's just the most wonderful thing they do. The dictionaries are perfectly beautiful dictionaries provided by McNally Corporation, and full of pictures as well as just flat out education, information, except that we discovered they didn't have the word enumerated in the dictionary. I mean, how do you leave out words, you know? But obviously this is a 3rd grade dictionary, I guess, but we thought that was a 3rd grade word. So at any rate, we also, I took grandkids and we went to the Pig Bowl to see a grandson play. Had a good time. We had a very productive city retreat last week. The business outlook, the Chamber's business outlook on Friday morning was extremely informational, and there are several presentations that were local. The Chamber had a presentation, staff had a presentation with an amazing number of facts and figures, and it seems like both of those presentations would be worthy of airing here at City Council. so that they could be distributed to an audience beyond the people who were at the Economic Outlook. So that would be my suggestion. That night I went to the Metro Chambers annual dinner downtown, and congratulations to all the people who won the business awards down there. Saturday, the little place in Capitol Village called Code Ninja had its first anniversary, and we were all invited to go and check it out. And I went over and got a basic introduction or explanation, however you want to call it. Garrett, stop smirking. About coding and what it is and how they teach the kids to do it, and stop that and watch them do their robots, which I had seen at Riverview STEM Academy a couple of years ago, which was a lot of fun. But watching the effort that goes into it was fascinating. As one of the checks that we presented tonight, the one to the Telangana Association, they are going on the 14th of March. They're going to have not only their Festival of Flowers, but also a kite festival. And I went to a kite festival once, and they're absolutely delightful. So I know we'll have more information about that, and I know everyone would love to attend the kite festival on the 14th of March. And then finally, I suspect the name Bob Cox doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but Bob Cox is the very nice gentleman who started publishing this little magazine called Go For It back in 2008. And he's been persevering. It's really just a way to find out a lot about local businesses and get some very nice coupons. But his article this time was very poignant. Apparently, Bob has just lost his wife, and we want to adjourn in her memory tonight. Donna Lee Cox. Donna Lee Cox. He wrote a very beautiful article in tribute to her. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Linda. Mr. Terry?
I will start with an update from the Air District. The staff continues to explore, although I don't really think the votes are there for a per capita fee at the moment. Looking around at a lot of other jurisdictions and governments, we all should be very, very thankful with the financial and fiscal outlook of our city comparatively to a lot of other governments. To kind of rub salt in the wound at the Air District at the moment, too, is the governor's budget eliminated, I believe, about $500 million of air funding for different programs that they zeroed out a couple of different things, and so they were given an update there. But again, it's the proposed budget, so there's a lot that can change between now and when they finally adopt it in June. But at the moment, it looks like there would be far less funding for equipment, subsidies for buying new trucks and generators and other things like that that emit bad stuff into the air. Another cap-to-cap steering committee. Again, I'm chairing the Homeless and Housing Committee again this year and using Simon and Company to do that. Last year, I believe we were the second largest team. We'll see if economic development can hold together for the next few months so that there actually is a committee. It might be a little bit smaller. I did attend some of the League of Cities. It was actually the new mayors and new council members conference last week. I was actually really interested in the social media update that they gave. It was about a 2-hour presentation, and it's always fascinating to look at that subject at any of these conferences that I go to, and the law and the evolution of what is considered public discourse and public communication and what isn't. And if you want to know, everything is moving towards everything is available to the public. If it's government or even if it's your Facebook, if you're using it in any way to interact with the public in general, then you can't exclude other people from that conversation. So if you ever want to have a group to just talk to your family, you should get another Facebook account or Instagram or whatever else it is. But it is really fascinating to have it's probably been about 18 months since the last time that I saw a talk like that. And there was probably 20 to 30% of it was brand new law or interpretations of communications and digital media. I want to thank staff and council. That was the shortest retreat I ever remember us having. And funny enough, in my opinion, that we accomplished more than we ever did when we met for 10 hours in a day. And I've probably said this before, but talking more and talking for longer doesn't always accomplish more. The chamber did put on a really great economic outlook or forecast event. I actually had some of my coworkers attend, and they were very, very pleased with the information. I didn't get to see all of Cyrus's presentation. I had to leave for work, but thank you to staff and everybody that put that together. And again, even not being in the room for the entire time, I got a lot of compliments about how well you all did. We did attend the chamber dinner. Linda, you didn't sit with us. I don't know why, but it was a big room, so we didn't find you. But
Yeah, it was
glad
weird.
you were
It was
there
weird
too.
seeing you at a whole nother table glaring at us.
I didn't see her.
I
so-
did. I ran into her like
wow.
4 times.
Oh, okay. Wow. So it was a great event. Again, it was a packed house, and I think the chamber's doing some great work. And then finally, I couldn't attend this event, but I want to thank our city manager for going and accepting our first ever Hammy from the Habitat for Humanity awards dinner. It's funny because they had a really big black tie event in the fall, and I assumed that had replaced this. So when we got invited, I had already had I had to be out of town that night anyways, but I'm really glad that somebody was able to attend and that they recognized us in that way. I want to say like the county gets recognized almost every year, so does the city of Sacramento. But this is the first time that we've ever gotten one, and I think it's a big deal. So, and with that, thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Mr. Gatewood.
Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce, Diane, thank you for the amazing forecast. Congratulations to Code Ninja. Business making it a year is an amazing thing, and so that was amazing to go to. It was a whole bunch of coding, and so my kids started getting in there using little C, little Java, having their robots fight each other, and then my kid found a Dragon Ball Z game, and that was it for learning. So what are you gonna do, nerds? Congratulations to River City Christian. They're having their first crossover basketball, which I know it's interesting how many of our citizens attend it because it's a great sport and a lot of people come in. And so everyone from the region, Mills, Mitchell, it's funny watching them all pair up off against each other. And hoping for some.
This is the middle school league, right?
Yeah, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And they're getting ready to expand it to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So they're going to be the first one actually in the region that actually has younger kids coming to learn how to play basketball. Congratulations to Linda, who is now the president of the newest JPA. So good job on that. She got elected while she wasn't there and appointed. So good job on that.
Classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
classic. I mean, what else?
The best part was Donatola being like, well, Linda's not here, so I'm pretty sure she wants to be president. And I was like, I'd have to second that because she wants to do it. And then Bob calls her and checks to make sure he wants to do it.
In 11 years of public service, I've never actually heard of somebody doing that to somebody. Like it actually happening of a body that I've had people threaten it, never actually seen it done. So congratulations, Linda.
I have. I mean, that's
have-
routine. Pick on the person who's not there and appoint them.
Yeah.
To chair?
Absolutely.
Hadn't happened in any of the ones I've been on yet.
You volunteered. You weren't here, but
Right, you volunteered.
You volunteered. The last thing is, and this will go across to everyone, I'm working on the steering committee for the Measure A. If you guys don't know about it, it's the road tax. I'm right now arguing to try to get as much for our city and try to make sense of it because they're saying that we need money for roads. I agree they need money for roads. I just don't agree that most of the road money needs to go to downtown Sac and not keep it here in Rancho. So we're going to work on that right now, and so more to come on that. And last was the Metro dinner, which is very nice and packed, and another thing that Linda didn't sit with us at. So it's amazing that you had, I don't know who that person was you were sitting with, but I'm telling Lee.
Well, I would have introduced you.
And that's my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gatewood. Let's see, since our last meeting, just under 2 weeks ago, I was present here at City Hall for Williamson Elementary doing one of the pretend to be the city council exercises. So it was a bunch, I think they were third graders or fourth graders? I forget.
I think they were fifth graders.
Fifth graders?
I thought they were fifth.
Maybe they were fifth graders.
Yeah, fourth and
Yeah,
fifth,
if that's the
yeah.
normal age they bring. So it's fifth graders. They fill up the dais, they fill up the audience, they have a little script they go on, and then they have to decide an important critical issue. So in this case, they were working on how many chickens should we allow people in Rancho Cordova to have? And we actually had this debate a number of years ago, and our answer was 4, 5, 6. We chose 6.
chickens in Rancho. You can't.
You have to have enough acreage, then you can actually have more. It depends on your lot size, but it's basically 6. You know what these kids picked? 20. Everybody could have 20. And I asked the critical question, did you consider the rooster? And they said, of course, no roosters. So it's not a bad decision.
Yeah.
But the funniest part of the day was they did it in a couple of rounds. And the first kid who got to act as mayor, when I was sort of talking to them as a group, he said, I'm mayor now, you're fired.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, I got fired by a fifth grader from Williamson.
Dang.
That was pretty interesting. So he and I had a little discussion afterwards, and someday he can have this job. That'd be good. All right, so that was a fun, that might have been the most fun I had last week. I attended the League of Cities committee meetings. I serve on revenue and taxation there. We talked about things like SB 50, which would override local planning with a state mandate saying, among other things, affordable housing or high density could go where a developer chose instead of a local jurisdiction. Or SB 5, which is trying to find ways to finance development along old corridors or in places where it's really difficult to do development, but everyone wants redevelopment and development to happen. So there's pretty important issues coming up before the legislature this year. They're also looking at a year again with a state surplus, and so you can expect some sort of spending program perhaps that might benefit a city, but we also have a great deal to fear about unfunded mandates or mandates coming down from the state telling us how to do everything in great detail. So I will continue our representation there. SACOG, I chair the Commercial Corridor Task Force at SACOG. We had our first meeting last week. We had some private developers in the room, and the majority of the people in the room and on the task force are not private developers. And the amazing thing was the insights that just a few of them could bring up into the room that sort of stymied the public official opinion and the public employee opinion about, wow, that is a problem. Very interesting things like a developer having fought over access to alleys in a local jurisdiction and how you develop that alley, and going through all sorts of rigmarole and studies and figuring out, yes, it's a benefit, and then in the end, the city was in favor of that. And then hearing 6 months later, another developer had the exact same problem, and that particular jurisdiction didn't pay any attention to what had happened before in the previous case, started over, and said, okay, you got to go through all the studies. It was like there was a lack of learning on behalf of the public agency there. And there were a number of examples like that I thought were pretty important. Our idea is within a year to come up with some actionable items that we as a region can take on to make infill development work better in our region. So we're identifying barriers and then trying to find ways to get over, around, through those barriers.
Good.
Our council retreat, I thought, was excellent. I agree with Mr. Terry. We had a great series of discussions there. We didn't take on a huge number of topics, which is fine. But one real highlight of the weeks for me was the chamber event on Friday, which was outstanding, that breakfast. I have to commend the chamber for their choice of speakers. People talking about sort of the geopolitical stability of the world and the changes that are going on. That was really eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people in the room. The update on what's going on at the Capitol and sort of the philosophical debates that are happening in our own state capitol. That speaker, Ms. Lapsley, was excellent. And then finally, of course, our own Cyrus Abhar and city staff, Amanda Norton, did a great job with their presentations, including attempting to boost the 49ers. That was perhaps not my highlight of the week, but that's all right.
You had to bring that up. Yeah, I was
rooting
so ready for you to miss that altogether and just bring it up in
Just
the
let that
closing,
go,
to close
the whole
it in memory
Super
of
Bowl thing.
Niners almost winning season.
Yeah.
Study missions in Kansas City this year.
Oh, there we go. We can go celebrate with the Chiefs.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Thank you,
And I
appreciate
think
you.
on that
David,
note,
David, we've been to Kansas City, remember?
we have, yeah.
It wasn't impressive.
That is, I think I'm going to end my comments right there. We're going to move on to our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two brief items. I was able to attend a focused regional managers, city managers meeting last week, and the focus of the discussion was about cybersecurity. You probably have heard and read in the news that there have been a number of attempts on many cities throughout in the United States. City of Atlanta was attacked for ransom. And then also regionally, we've had attempts on 2 cities in Lodi and Gulch. So it's a very hot topic. We have to be very vigilant about protecting ourselves, protecting our data, and also making sure that our systems are not compromised. But it's a real threat, and we are doing and taking the steps necessary to prevent that from happening to us. And one other quick note that I wanted to make related to the Hammy Awards. This is an annual award that Habitat for Humanity gives to the cities and agencies, volunteers, donors, sponsors, many their partners who help them to further their cause. So it was quite an honor for the city to receive this award in honor of the partnership that we have created with them with restoring some homes for some of our residents in the community. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. We are going to move on to item number 13, consent calendar items. Consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. We are talking about items 13.1 through 13.3. Are there any items council wishes to pull?
Seeing none, I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Items 13.1, 13.2, and 13.3.
Is there a second?
Opposite second.
Second? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yep.
And Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. We are moving on to consent public hearing items. Consent public hearing items.
Can I ask,
Yes.
we don't do the on-screen vote?
Not for right now.
It's broken.
Okay.
It's unhappy.
It didn't go to Code Ninjas?
It didn't go to Code Ninjas. Doesn't know how to use PHP or Java.
Okay.
So we are going on to item number 14, consent public hearing items. Consent public hearing items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. I am going to open the public hearing on item 14.1. Are there any items council wishes to discuss, or do we have a motion to approve?
Did we get any public speakers on this?
I do not have public speaker cards.
Okay.
Would you like to comment on it?
No, but I'll make a motion if you close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, if there's no comment, I will close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Motion made to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yep.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
And thank everyone who turned out 2 hours ago to participate in this discussion.
So that was the item we had previously discussed at that work session. Just approved it. Now adopted.
Yep.
All right, we are moving,
This was the first reading. It'll come back
first
on
reading,
a
there'll be
consent
one more
next
reading
time.
of it.
Yeah. It's almost law.
Okay, we are moving on to item 14.1. I'm sorry, 15.1. If the clerk would please announce that subject.
An ordinance amending sections of Title 16, Chapter 16.20 of the Rancho Cordova Municipal Code related to rental housing and resolutions adopting changes to program-related fees.
Good evening, Mayor Sanders, City Council, and staff. Russ Ducharme, Neighborhood Services Manager, here to discuss the proposed code amendments to the rental housing inspection program.
We're keeping you busy here today, aren't we?
Yes, you are, sir. So our meeting goals are to review the various Title 16, Chapter 16.20 rental housing inspection amendments, introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance, and approve the modified fee resolution. So the purpose of the rental housing inspection program is to ensure that all rental housing stock within the city of Rancho Cordova is inspected and maintained in a safe and healthy manner. It's also to ensure responsible rental property ownership and ensure that both the property owner and tenant are maintaining the rental unit in a neat and orderly fashion. So the rental housing inspection program was adopted in 2007. Since 2007, we have gone through the whole entire rental housing stock 3 times, inspected it 3 times. Our inspections frequency, apartment complexes are inspected on a 3-year cycle, and the 1 to 4 unit rental properties are inspected on a 7-year cycle.
Russ, does that compare to any kind of an industry standard? Do you have a feel of
I don't
how
have
other agencies do it?
No, I don't. I don't have a feel. It's, when this was set up, I think it was to get through the stock in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, this is obviously a more in-depth inspection. I know we've been to other jurisdictions. Garrett and I visited one in Texas where they literally look at every property 6 times a year, but that's not
Wow.
this.
No, this is not.
Yeah.
No.
That was a sort of a drive-by look at the property as opposed to
This is
go in
going,
and really look.
and the interior, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a little bit about our stock. We have approximately 770 apartment complexes consisting of 6,900 units. Approximately 4,000 1 to 4 family rental properties consisting of 4,700 units. And staff this year is projected to inspect 23 apartment complexes consisting of 3,000 units and an additional 425 1 to 4 family properties consisting of 525 units. So we want to identify various areas of the rental housing inspection program code that require additional language to hold the property owners more accountable to their rental properties, and discuss fee adjustments to make the program more sustainable. So holding the absentee landlords more accountable to their property. So I'll just go through the proposed ordinance, rescheduling fee for no-call, no-show inspections. So currently, we don't have a mechanism to recover costs when we go out to an inspection and it's a no-call, no-show. Nobody's there to help administer the inspection. Staff has informed me that approximately 40% of our initial and second inspections are no-call, no-shows. So we don't have a mechanism to.
Did you say 40%?
40%.
Define no call, no call.
No call, no show is when you go to a scheduled inspection and nobody's there to conduct the inspection with you.
Oh, but they didn't call you.
They didn't.
The call is they didn't call you.
They didn't call to cancel or reschedule.
Okay,
Sorry.
got it.
Yeah, so there's a quite a bit that are not calling in. So by adopting this amendment, we would have a mechanism to hold those property owners accountable for the missed inspection and get the unit inspected.
Can I ask how you notify the property owner that it's to be inspected?
We inform the property owner via mail. We also post the property so that the tenant is made aware as well.
Okay.
Now, I just want to clarify, because I've had family that are renting in the city that have had this done. Basically, well, I shouldn't say basically, but it's not really the property owner that you're really making the appointment with, it's the tenant, right?
It is the tenant. The property owner needs to be involved, and if you look at one of the next changes that we're looking to make, it will get the property owner more involved.
Okay.
So our second amendment that we're looking to change is owner obtain tenant permission to enter the unit to conduct inspection. As you said, Councilman, that a lot of times the owner leaves it up to the tenant to schedule these inspections. And we want to hold the property owner more accountable to this inspection. It kind of dovetails into the first rescheduling fee request change, in that if we're holding the property owner responsible for these no-call, no-shows, then the property owner needs to be involved in scheduling these inspections. Our third change is the elimination of exemption from properties that are less than 5 years old. So our current code states that if a property is less than 5 years old from the date of the certificate of occupancy, it does not have to be inspected. Staff recently inspected the north side of the Anatolia neighborhood and found several health, life, safety issues with smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, egress windows being blocked, doors not functioning. So very, very basic health, life, safety issue. Maintenance issues were not the issue, not the problem. It was the health, life, safety issues that we were seeing.
Wasn't there a sweep of some part of that neighborhood like a couple years ago that I swear I thought Carrie had said that didn't really turn up much, and that the stock in that area was very well kept?
It is very well kept, but there
Okay.
are still these health, life, safety issues that are grave concern. If smoke detectors are tampered with and not,
So clearly, whatever she was talking about was not an inspection of interiors of properties. Well,
it could very well been. But we did, it was about a year and a half ago when we were in that neighborhood, yes.
doing rental inspections or doing?
Yes, rental inspections.
Okay. Okay.
So the third amendment that we're looking at is rental housing registration. So we're looking to require a separate rental housing registration for each rental property and fee reduction. Our current process is for property owners who own more than one rental property, they're only required to get one rental business license or rental registration. Moving forward, we would like to see each rental property have its own rental housing registration. And this would be more consistent with our business license processes where, each property has its own business license. So just going over the fee adjustments, we're looking to increase the rental housing code compliance fee from $10 to $16. This fee hasn't been touched since 2007. This fee is one of the ways we sustain our program. The second fee we're looking to implement is the establishing a rescheduling fee of $125. Obviously, at 40% of the inspections not being conducted, we're looking to recover the costs expended to deploy an officer out on site. And our third fee adjustment, reduce the rental housing registration fee from $81 to $50. This is done because the amount of rental housing registrations is going to increase. So by reducing the fee from 81 to 50, it won't be too much of a hardship for those property owners that own more than one property. So this slide shows the spread of other jurisdictions in the region and how the code compliance fees and other fees associate with their programs. Increasing the code compliance fee from 10 to 16 is going to bring us very comparable to the region. Same with the implementation of the $125 rescheduling fee. So just a few examples of how the fees are going to be implemented. A property owner with one single-family rental unit. Under our existing code, the registration fee would be approximately $91. Under the proposed registration fee, it would be $66. For property owners with one apartment complex containing 200 units, under the existing code, we're looking at $2,081. Under our proposed amendments, we're looking at $3,250. And finally, property owners with 5 single-family rental units, under our existing code, it would be $131, and under our proposed code, it would be $330.
Is that an annual rental license and registration?
Yes, it is. So my recommendation for council is to introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance and adopt the fee resolution. and I'm here for questions.
So I have one question and one comment. Define code compliance fee.
Code compliance fee is the, when you look at how the registration fee is calculated, it's the per unit fee that the property owner pays when registering the property. So they would pay the rental registration fee or the business license, the rental business license fee is what we're calling it now, in addition to the per door fee, which is the code compliance fee.
I don't get the logic behind that since you're now requiring everybody to get an individual license per each unit.
The logic,
I mean, it's like charging two different fees for the same purpose, and so why not just charge one fee that covers it all?
we could entertain that for sure. This is following the existing format in which we collect our fees. So right now, we do a rental business license fee and then the per door fee, the code compliance fee.
So one is per site and one is per door.
Correct.
And your three examples show how it's applied under different scenarios. 5 different locations, 5 doors, or one location, 200 doors.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, so then, one unit with one door, one unit which is one door, is the $66.
Yes, ma'am.
But one apartment complex with 100 doors would be $50 for the complex, and then another $16 for each of the 100 doors within the complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I get that example.
There's a certain balance in it.
Yeah, no, I get that example. If you only have single-family properties, it seems kind of odd, but if you're thinking about an apartment complex, it makes more sense. And I have only one comment, that you've talked about owners as absentee owners, but the curious thing is, if you ever have occasion to do a 500-foot radius map, and you're looking at the lists of owners, a good percentage of the time that somebody owns a single-family unit, the person who owns that has a close address. Like they've lived there before and then moved to someplace else. And you find that a lot in neighborhoods. They just didn't sell. And quite frankly, if you think of it historically, Bob will remember so many people who came here who were stationed at Mather and were then transferred to someplace else, but knew they were close to retirement, would keep their house here. And then when they retired, then they would have the Air Force in their last move them back here and move into that house that they'd been renting all that time. So, that's kind of where it started. But it is quite common for people to keep a unit that they've been living in, even though they bought something else to live in.
Sure.
So
Understood.
that would be my only comment.
Other questions, Mr. McGarvey?
Yeah, just, I was looking at the page before, we're comparing Rancho Cordova and Sacramento and Citrus Heights and like that. And then on this page right now that we're looking at, went from 2,081 to 3,250. Is that similar to what other cities are doing too?
Yes, it's in alignment with what's happening in the region.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it might actually be lower than the region.
It is.
With regard to the inspection fee, right?
The code compliance fee is in alignment. The inspection fee is substantially less, yes.
So we're charging nothing for an inspection, basically.
Correct.
Whereas City of Sacramento is 127, county is 335. Okay.
Correct.
And that, I think, maybe I should have said this at the beginning, that sort of is the historical basis for what we were doing here. You know, when we first did the rental inspection ordinance here in Rancho Cordova, I think we were the first in the region to successfully get it passed. And the reason that occurred is that we went to the Apartment Owners Association and said, we agree that there's a problem in your industry, but most of your members are the good guys. The problem is the bad guys out there, the slumlords. How do we come up with an ordinance that allows us to inspect and deal with all the problems in the slumlord properties, but not penalize the good guys? Because none of us here wants to, penalize the good when you're trying to fix the bad. And so they came up with an ordinance that basically, if you sort of look at this, there's not a lot of overhead for a good guy. But if you're a bad guy and you don't want to maintain your property, you're a slumlord, you're trying to get as much money out of it as possible without spending anything, then the way our system is set up, you end up paying for all of the costs we incur in helping you or requiring you to clean up your property. So that it's philosophically, I think, a beautiful thing to not penalize the good, but to go after the problem and deal with the bad, make the bad guy basically pay for the problems they're causing. So, and I think the great thing about this update is, when you talk about that inspection fee, for example, that's part of that, not making the good guy pay for a problem they don't have. And I would also say that kind of applies to what we did earlier tonight, when we were talking about RVs and storage of items. We're not after everybody, we're after the bad guys, and trying to sort out a happy medium where you can support the good and not penalize them, but deal with the problem. So there was Mr. Terry, do you have any comments on this item? Mr. Gatewood?
Did we hear from the rental groups and stuff like that? Did they have any issues?
That's what I was just gonna raise. I think we did receive a letter today. Stacy, did you circulate that to us?
I have not seen it. The clerk's office has not received it.
Oh, I forwarded it to you when I saw it this afternoon.
I saw it. I didn't know who sent it to me. Does someone, Russ, have you seen it?
I have.
Okay, as I remember, I don't have a device I can pull it up with immediately here. I actually expected to see it. I think they were worried about single-family home landlords and the repetition of the registration fee. I think that was one concern. Second concern is they were worried about renters not showing up when they were supposed to, and owners being held responsible for their renters' behavior. I think that was the second objection. Is anyone here from the Apartment Owners Association?
Okay, it's also important to point out that the Sacramento Apartment Association merged into the California Apartment Association. So they're not speaking with as local a voice as they
Yeah,
have been
there
in the
was a
past.
merger between the local and the
Yeah.
state. But what was striking about the letter, I think, is that they weren't objecting to fee changes per se.
Correct.
It was just potentially the application to single-family homes, and then
Yeah.
how exactly do you sort out that issue between the tenant not showing up and the landlord being responsible for that? So do you have any response, Russ, to what you saw in that letter, if I just characterized it properly?
No, I think the proposed amendments are strong and are appropriate, and we should, stand by them.
And I'm specifically bringing up these comments they had because this original ordinance was written basically hand in hand by them, if not by them
Right.
primarily.
When it
So-
was the Sacramento Apartment
Yes.
Association.
So to me, anyway, their view of it matters a lot, because we don't want to break that sort of agreement we have about not penalizing the good. Their last objection that I'd forgotten was they opposed the repeal of the exemption for units less than 5 years old. But I think you gave a reasonable
For sure.
explanation for why we feel that is necessary.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just Micah Runner, Deputy City Manager. I would want to let you know that Mr. Ducharme did meet with the representative from the Apartment Association last week, went over these different changes in order to try to get some feedback and some comments. And I think this was a result of some of those conversations. I think some of the things in the letter that you will see is really about how we're implementing the program and less about the actual changes themselves. So I think from an operational standpoint, we can handle some of these concerns with the reinspection fees and things.
Okay. I think their major concern, as I read it here, is regarding business license, which is not in front of us.
Oh, the fact that we actually
We require a
business-
business license, yeah.
Yeah, that was sort of
Okay.
cast in concrete.
Thank you, Linda. Any other comments on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none,
Then I will move approval of item 15.1.
I will close the public hearing. I've heard a motion. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Budge,
Yes.
Councilmember Terry,
Aye?
Councilmember McGarvey,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood,
Yeah.
Mayor Sander.
Aye.
Is this the first reading? Or is this?
Yes.
Huh?
It would have, it's an amendment.
Amendment, okay.
I think this will appear on a future agenda, probably on consent as a second.
Okay.
Okay, we are moving on to regular calendar items. Item number 16. 16.1, if the clerk would announce that subject.
Update on potential city smoking regulations, indoor multifamily smoking, smoking distance from buildings.
All right, staff report.
Good evening, Council. Trevor Taniguchi from the City Attorney's Office. I'm sitting in for Adam Lindgren, the City Attorney. So if you recall, back in November, the City Attorney's Office presented a series of information regarding the city's current existing smoking ordinance. And as a result of that discussion, had asked the City Attorney's Office to bring back further information and looking into specifically prohibiting smoking within multifamily residences, and also looking further into the possibility of increasing some of the distance prohibitions within the city's code. So when we looked into the city's existing requirements, it's for you on the screen right now. Smoking is prohibited in certain enumerated outdoor areas, in addition to 20 feet within building entrances or other areas where smoking is prohibited. The city also has a clause in its smoking prohibition that allows for prohibition in areas where smoke can travel into an area that is prohibited under the code. So there is some level of flexibility. It's not a huge distance requirement, but when we looked at what other cities within our jurisdiction do, we found that the city is pretty much in line with the other jurisdictions. So Folsom, there's no specific distance requirements. Citrus Heights has 20, 25 feet. The one distance that is unique amongst Citrus Heights and Oak Grove is this rather large distance between schools, daycare centers, playground parks, amusement centers, and sports facilities. So if that is something the council is interested in exploring, that's something, an amendment that we could bring back. I know there was concerns last time regarding smoking around specifically childcare center. It is prohibited in the city's code currently within and around the childcare center, and if I could go back, anywhere where smoke could technically travel within that area. So from our interpretation of the code, this gives the city a lot more flexibility rather than a strict distance requirement. It's really, if smoking occurs anywhere within that region, it would be a violation if it's traveling into that facility.
So I'm trying, so code would be the one that enforces this, right? So basically, if you can smell it in your building, then it's illegal? Is that the standard for enforcement? You really are getting a lot of work today.
No time off.
No kidding. I mean, is that the interpretation? If it's close enough for smoke to travel into a building, that means if somebody can smell it inside, you're breaking the law.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
So I actually thought that we were going to discuss banning smoking in multifamily properties.
We're going to get to that as well, but that was the first coming back. Wanted a little bit more further clarification on distance requirements within the code. What we've looked into as far as multifamily banning, so here is what we're proposing. We can definitely ban within, currently the code prohibits smoking only in the indoor common areas. So that would be like an area where everyone within that unit is eligible to use. What the code currently does not prohibit is smoking within those multifamily units themselves. So what we're proposing is a ban within all multifamily housing properties, which we feel there's sufficient justification to do, and many other municipalities throughout California have done. What we're seeking your advice and counsel on at this time is how you would like that implementation to roll out. Some cities utilize a grace period of 180 days, a year phase-in. What we're really seeking input on is how you would like to bring about this change within the city going forward.
You know, I lived in an apartment building in Washington DC, actually in Alexandria. I think I was on the 3rd level, and there was a smoker on the 1st level. And if I left my door open, my like balcony sliding glass door open, it would just become overpowering. You know, smoke rises, some of it blew in. So unfortunately, because there was a smoker in a totally different, part of the building, I couldn't have my door left open on a regular basis. That seems kind of crazy in retrospect, because it's an imposition on an innocent party, basically. So, I don't know, we've had this discussion before. I'm certainly in favor of keeping people safe from cigarette smoke where possible. I'm curious about the California Apartment Association's position on this. I know we've had discussions with them, Linda, probably going back 6 or 8 years, I'm not sure, on this topic.
And I suspect we're not the only organization that has talked with them about this.
I know I've talked to operators, so owners, not necessarily the association, and I've had owners say they wish we would just make that decision for them.
Because the cleanup costs are that significant, or
The fact that that a lot of them can adopt their own rules and say, okay, we don't do that, we're a smoke-free facility or whatever, is a lot harder than if somebody just said, say it's against the law in the city, and then we'll help you enforce it. I would tend to say, yeah, there's needs to be some sort of grace period. I would be fine with a year of spending some money and some time educating all of our property owners and getting them ready for this is when it's going to happen, and educating our tenants that they have the right to complain. But I think, yeah, I mean, again, when we brought this up the last time, I think we kind of went to the low-hanging fruit, which was indoor common areas are really simple, that people are going to mix around, and that you shouldn't have to put up with that in an area where other people are going to be. The unit question, I think, was a little bit tougher, but I'll tell you, I mean, whether it's the fire danger, the property damage just from the smoke, and the fact of what you have to do. I mean, as somebody who just bought a house where the former owners smoked in the garage, even power washing the floor and 2 coats of smell blocking primer, it still took 3, maybe 4 months for the smell to go away. So, I mean, and that didn't have any carpet or anything else in it. So, I mean, just the damage from the fact of somebody not wanting to live in that apartment next, and what that does to the viability of the property. I mean, how often do we sit here and talk about deferred maintenance on our multifamily housing already? And this just makes it worse. So I'm totally fine with that. If we were going to talk about going back to the other slide on
The
distances, and to me, I guess I just thought we did it, but I would definitely be in favor of something that's, I guess I do like that if you can smell it inside. So whether it's a daycare facility or something else, if you can smell it inside in the building, then you're breaking the law. So you need to be further away. So it's not just 20 feet. If the wind's blowing the wrong way, you need to stand somewhere else, and somebody should be able to tell them that. But I do like the idea, and we already have smoking banned within our parks, of extending that you need to not only not be in our parks, you need to be away from our parks. So that's, yeah, sure, 200 feet, 250 feet, 300 feet from a school or the other ones. I think that's great. But then again, I'm the one that I think first brought this issue up, so I've always been a little fired up about this issue.
Fired up?
Yeah.
Fired up.
All right.
Mr. McGarvey, any comments?
No, I think it's a good idea to follow through on this, and it's kind of interesting with the 20 feet from the outside the building, but that in itself, I think, when you do that, it's not very far from getting into the door. As soon as someone walks the door and goes in the building, comes out of the building, the smoke can go, only 20 feet away, it can go in the building. So are we talking about getting rid of that too, or
We could.
can you do that?
Ms. Budge, any comments?
Yeah, I always think it's very interesting. Over at Blue Shield, the people have to go way out on the sidewalk adjacent to the parking lot they installed. There's usually a little cluster of smokers out there. So they're not allowed to get close to their building, period. And of course, Blue Shield being theoretically a healthcare insurer, they probably take it pretty seriously. And quite frankly, I would be the person with you who wanted my balcony door open all the time. And I would be very sympathetic and really, if I couldn't open the door.
I didn't quite hear that part.
No, I mean, I couldn't open the door because of somebody else's cigarette smoke. That just, it's so funny when we travel now to other parts of the United States or other places where there are not normal smoking bans. And it's really unique to go into some place where you get smoked on and you forget how really nice it is here that we don't have to deal with that. I would be, I don't care whether it's 250 or 300, but 300 is a nice round figure. If you want to set up a band adjacent to kids soccer, I respect the rights of property owners, but I do agree with Donald that there are more times people have talked to us asking us to do this than there are landlords who have said, "Oh, you're infringing on my rights," and so I would support banning it in multifamily housing properties.
I think the feedback, we're proposing to do some outreach. I think the feedback will be pretty interesting to what landlords actually say back to us. If this is a huge problem or we're glad that you do this. That'll be interesting feedback.
You're going to get
It's
a lot of
interesting-
landlords. They're going to ask us just to do it and say we did and say they didn't talk to us.
Yeah, it's interesting that that Russ said we have 70 discrete apartment complexes. Obviously, some are quite large, like Chesapeake Common with 600 and some odd units. If you look at BDX, obviously our newest one, they have a huge amount of common space that we all toured. And so it's obvious that in BDX, the only place you could even attempt to get away with it would be in your own unit, and so many of them have balconies. It would be interesting to know in those 70 complexes, how many of them are just McKeon quadplexes and how many of them are really large apartment complexes.
Mr. Terry?
I would, my guess is BDX, looking at their target demographic, you're talking more vapors that you probably couldn't tell if they were doing it anyways.
Well, I don't appreciate that either. I can tell.
Oh, I can tell too, but it is harder to detect that. I'm sure it'd be harder for code enforcement than smoking. I was just going to make a couple of comments. One, I just was out of state and went to a brewery and saw the makeshift signs that they have been putting all around to ask people not to vape within their building, even because nobody had tackled this issue for them yet. The only other thing I wanted to add to the list of potentials is to ban smoking anywhere in the city council campus. So it's not just walk out here to the wall where everybody's got to walk by you when they get out of their car. You got to go to the street if you want to smoke. So this entire campus, considering the Children's Museum and everything else, we shouldn't do it here. And I am still surprised at the number of people that I see that are out there doing it. And maybe some of that's from meetings and stuff that are happening here. But I would propose adding that to the list. I mean, whether it's UC Davis or Kaiser, even the VA hospital, you can't smoke anywhere near it. And I want to say even Veterans Village, you have to leave the campus. Or maybe they do have a site. Maybe there isn't. Did they build a?
They do have a designated smoking area,
They
but
have an
when you
area.
go over there, you will see people off-site, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, most of our larger facilities, and especially the healthcare facilities, you can't smoke anywhere, even in their parking lot. So why would we allow that? and setting a standard. So that's the only thing I would add to this, and yeah, 300 sounds great. But I don't think anybody's guessing what my position was on this.
Mr. Gatewood?
Two football field, almost a 3 foot,
One.
one whole
300
football
feet.
field.
300
So how does it work? So in soccer, the people that are on their housing smoke, they can smoke right into it, but you wouldn't be able to smoke. You have to walk all the way down to the street light to have a cigarette?
Yeah.
That's a little rough, aren't you? I mean, it's already 20 feet away. That's a little much. I mean, dang, 4 smokers.
Smoke before you get there.
Smoke where? You can't.
You're home.
No spots left.
They should know how to smoke. Well, I think it's a little much, but I'll go with
I mean, I will say that I think it's a bit much, and I don't know how it works for residential in general, but I know, I mean, I probably was in high school when a city in, I want to say it was Rhode Island was the first place to do it, but they passed that if you can smell your neighbor smoking, they're breaking the law. So there are laws on the books all over the place that even say that even within your home, if your neighbor, and I'm not, we don't have that law, but I mean, that's 20 years ago. So, I mean, progressively, city law, state law, these codes have all been going in this direction for a very long time.
Makes me wonder what comes next. Barbecue smoke, wood smoke.
don't know,
I
I
think
just bought
there
a
are other
smoker,
smokes
so-
in between food.
There's no nicotine
There's
in
other
those.
smokes between
True.
cigarettes and food that could be addressed first.
And trust me, I'm on the air district, so there are a whole bunch of regulations to that already that they're working on. This is, I believe, the only county in California that you can be fined on a check before you burn day, if you do unauthorized burns. So, and we already have a very interesting thing that keeps us from leaving our windows open at night anyways, in our neighborhood.
All right, public
Let
comment.
me have one more thing.
Sure,
I was
Bob.
on the air quality board for a while, and one of the things that I thought was really ridiculous was there were wildfires. We had some years that were worse than others, but it took the federal government 3 years to say, okay, Sacramento isn't actually responsible for what it was. But for those 3
wildfire
years, we
smoke.
were held responsible for the poor air quality of the air during those wildfires. I thought,
Wow.
that's,
Yeah, that's good. Well, we also used to get dinged for, I think, Bay Area smog that would sort of make it get pushed out of the Bay Area, land on us, and then it's our problem. Yeah. I think we had at least one public comment card turned in.
Daryl Langwell?
Anyone else who wishes to comment, please feel free. Welcome, Daryl.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Darrell Langwell, Vineyards Neighborhood. I was just wondering if this is strictly tobacco products or if it's also going to include marijuana. If it includes marijuana, how do you deal with someone that has a prescription for medical marijuana?
So the city's current ordinance covers in its definition of smoking, both tobacco, electronic, and marijuana smoke. In regards to the medical marijuana question, smoking of any type of cannabis is not prohibited in public places within the city. That would be something you would have to consume in your own home.
But in multifamily dwellings?
It would not be permitted.
Because it would be a combustion product like a cigarette or a cigar or a pipe
Correct.
or a electronic cigarette, I suppose.
Correct.
Could you? So, hang on. I know what you're about to ask. I'll ask it for. So you just said that you can't consume marijuana except within your own property. Could you do it? So in a multifamily situation, could you do it at a designated smoking area, or you can't do it outside?
The way the code is written currently, only smoking is banned in common areas. If the council would like to carve out an exemption for medical cannabis consumption within multifamily housing.
I guess I'm asking your guidance on can they smoke it outside? because they can smoke cigarettes outside now, so long as they don't break these other ordinances that we're talking about. But if we're talking about banning smoking inside multifamily housing, if they have a designated area outside, are they allowed to do that, to smoke marijuana?
Currently in the code, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's not permitted in multifamily housing.
No. That's the proposal right now, is to ban it.
So the ban right now would ban all smoking, and smoking includes both medical and non-medical marijuana.
Right, okay.
So that would, if we were.
But you just said a second ago that you can't consume or smoke marijuana outside.
Currently, under the ban on common areas for multifamily housing.
That's not what I'm asking. You had said a second ago, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody, okay. At one point you said you can only consume marijuana-related products within your home.
So I should have qualified that.
Smoke marijuana, not
Currently, for
consume
multifamily housing units, because there's a smoking prohibition in common areas, the only place you could lawfully within the cities, if you live in a multifamily residence, smoke cannabis or marijuana would be in your home.
Can you legally smoke marijuana outside?
Technically, within public places?
Yeah.
No, not under the current city's code.
Could you smoke it within private places?
You could smoke it in a private place.
Like
Yes.
an outdoor designated area, like in a parking lot of a.
Correct, if it was.
That would be allowed.
Correct.
Okay, so then I guess, because if we're banning it within their home, which would be their apartment, and they can't smoke it outside, we're banning it completely, which to Daryl's point, then they have a prescription and state law tells them that they have a right to consume this product in some way. So we're telling them they have to do it outdoors in a designated area.
Or consume it in some other way.
Correct. So
Yes,
one
that
of
is true.
one of the options is
hadn't thought of it.
to provide the guidelines for how multifamily unit housing can establish a smoking area. And in that case, yes, consumption there would be permitted. And again, a property owner has the right to prohibit more than what the city code is providing for.
Right.
And what if the person can't actually get to the smoking area?
It would probably have to be ADA accessible.
Yep.
Which it should be anyway.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
But these are important discussions to come with more outreach and feedback. Do we have enough direction? Cyrus, do you think?
Yes, thank you. I think this is good. We just wanted to gauge the council's interest in the extent of the policies and what we need to research. We have reached out to the California Apartment Association. We let them know that we're having this discussion tonight, and somewhat surprised they're not here for this.
The other group that I don't see here is the county, the county, what was it, the Smoking Education Council, whatever it was. We got an award from. Huh?
Well, breathe.
Them too, but there was a group from the county that was funded by tobacco tax that was heavily involved when they found out that we were doing it the first time, and I'm just surprised that they're not here but yeah, Breathe California's been sending letters over and over and over, and I've pointed this out more than once that it's really ineffective to send me a letter that just has somebody's first name and no address, and I have no idea who they are and if they're a resident.
Yeah, we all got at least a dozen letters
Yeah,
back
I know.
in
So
for
I
Christmas
gave my
time.
feedback back to Breathe about that if you're going to send me letters, at least prove that they're my constituent, or at least
Okay.
claim they're my constituent.
We are going to move on to item number 17, council requests for future agenda items.
Just to reiterate my thought that at least two of the presentations at the Economic Outlook were short enough and definitely worthy of more exposure.
They were outstanding
Yeah.
presentations.
So the
yeah.
one from the chamber, Diane's presentation from the chamber with her stats, and then staff presentation about the statistics, the numbers of units, the value of construction, what's being built where, that kind of thing. Great update.
Sure. So you would like for us to invite the
Please.
chamber? Okay, we'll do that for a future meeting.
All right, and with that, if there's nothing else, we're going to adjourn in memory of Donna Lee Cox.
Thank
We are adjourned.
No